Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chris Terrell Podcast. I am your host, Chris Terrell, and welcome to another week of your weight loss quest. How did this last week go for you, champion? What failures did you encounter? More importantly, though, what lessons did you learn from that failure? Did you know that that's all failure is, right? Just a teacher, sometimes an uncomfortable teacher, but a good one. Now, if you're new here, my name is Chris Terrell, and I have lost 125 pounds myself after an entire adulthood of chronic yo-yo dieting. Up, down again, before I finally got sick and tired of being sick and tired and made some permanent, meaningful, and lasting changes to my lifestyle, my habits, my routines, my system of belief, my community, my environment. And as a result, I've got an entirely new life. And it's crazy. I think to myself all the time, where my life is now versus where it was 5-6 years ago. Honestly, it is incomprehensible how different my life is for me. Like if I could go back in time and just sit down in front of old me would not be able to understand how he got from there to where I am today. And it has nothing to do with what I look like. I mean, sure, that certainly would be a part of it, but a lot of it would have to do with how I talk, how I think, how I view the world, how I spend my time, how I view myself. My relationship with myself is totally different now than how it was before. And that came because of the weight loss journey. And it's not because I lost weight. It's because I decided to stop losing weight. And instead, I decided to start outgrowing it. To get to the place where I realized I no longer needed the behaviors in my life that were creating the weight gain. Look, some of weight for me, and as is going to be the case for many of you, some of the reason why you haven't been successful is you just had the wrong information, right? I know for me that's the case. Sometimes I just straight up had the wrong information. When someone told me, a doctor told me to eat, or well, not eat, but drink 800 calories a day, that somehow that was a good thing. That was just bad information. That was a solution that I just never should have employed, never should have used in my life. However, there have been times where I did have good information, and I still didn't do it. There have been times in my life, not just in weight, but where I knew what I needed to do, and I just wasn't doing it. Now, last week, I kicked off a series of podcasts that's going to run from now to the end of the year, or from then till the end of the year, where I'm going to coach you and help you level up. I'm going to coach you just as if you were a client of mine sitting here in front of me. There's some things you need to know. There's some information you need. And it's not information about what kind of carbs should you eat. And it's not information of like how many minutes a week of exercise should I do. And it's not information like how many calories should I consume. All of that information is important. But for many people listening, especially this time of year, right now of recording, it is Friday, December the 22nd, so leading up to the new year. For many of you, you have not yet begun your journey. You're getting way ahead of yourself by sitting there and going, how many calories should I be getting? You're not even there yet. You're not there yet. It's just a distraction if you're thinking about that. So what we started with last week, just to recap, is I told you about the first 3 steps of change. The first step being you must release the desire to do the old thing, the old behavior, the old result. Because you're doing things that you desire to do, or at a minimum don't have a reason to do something else, right? You have to begin to let go of that while simultaneously doing step 2 of creating the desire to do the new action, whatever the new thing is. And then you must continually reinforce the desire that you have now created until you are compelled to take action. That's what we're looking for. I am looking for you to be at a place where you're just at a frenzy. You just got to try something. You just got to take action. You're not going to be held back. You are, in a word, motivated. Isn't that what you're looking for? Motivation. Isn't that what you're looking to have throughout your entire journey? motivation. Motivation is a finite resource. There can only be so much. However, motivation is also a renewable resource. Just because you've only had a certain amount of motivation today and that motivation well has ran out, that motivation well will replenish itself. Now, contrary to what many people believe, I used to believe, that motivation well can be refilled on demand. You can create motivation. Now, again, it will run out. It's a finite resource. You can only have so much at a time before the motivation is going to run out. So you have to be continually instilling and generating emotion or motivation within yourself. Now, motivation, though, isn't really what it is. We use the word motivation, but we've got to use a more accurate word. It's desire. I don't want you to be motivated to lose weight. I want you to desire to lose weight. I want you to feel compelled to do it. I don't want you to feel motivated to track your calories. I want you to desire to track your calories. And you can create this. And this week, we're going to do another deep dive into some aspects of this. We're going to build off of what we did last week. So if you have not listened to last week's episode of the podcast, I want you to pause this one right here. Do not listen further. Pause this episode and go to the episode immediately preceding it in your feed. Listen to that one and then come listen to this episode. Do not listen to this episode until you have listened to last week's episode. Now, before we get into the topic for today, I would like to invite you, you know what I'm about to invite you to do? I'm about to invite you to come join my free Facebook group. It is arguably the best weight loss Facebook group on the planet. I know I'm super biased when I say that, so maybe you can't take me at my word for it. So tell you what, why don't you come test me? Go to ChrisTerrellCoaching.com, scroll down, you'll see a link to it where you can join my free Facebook group. We've got over 5,000 weight loss warriors in there just like yourself, all motivated to lose weight the same way, slow and steady, making permanent lifestyle, habit, and routine changes to get a result that lasts. Don't you want to interact with people like that all the time? Well, you can come do that for free. Did I mention it's free? You can do that by going to ChrisTerrellCoaching.com, scrolling down, and you'll find a link to it. Or if you don't want to do that, in your podcast, you can just pull out your phone right now and do what I'm about to tell you. You can just scroll down on almost every podcasting app, and there's going to be what is called show notes. If you're not familiar with that, most podcasts have show notes. And in there, you will find a link to join the free Facebook group. I would love to see you in there. I go live there every Monday morning to answer your questions and to give you more content and information to help you complete your weight loss quest. Because I want to see you get to the end of it, just like I did. Just like so many other people have been doing. I want to see you get there. There's somebody in my community today I saw. She just hit Wonderland. I'm going to give a shout out to Shelly for that one. Wonderland. Wonderland. Who doesn't want to hit Wonderland? That is still my proudest weight loss accomplishment, was hitting Wonderland. I had not seen my weight with a 1 in front of it since middle school. Like, I had honestly just written it off in my head that I would ever see a weight with a 1 in the front of it for myself. And I got there. And I know so many of you want to get there too. And Wonderland is just such a proud accomplishment. Don't you want to come bump shoulders with people like that are getting that sort of traction? That's who you want to come hang out with. So go to ChrisTerrellCoaching.com, scroll down, click on the free Facebook group, and I'll see you there on Monday. Now, let me tell you about some really cool stuff with regards to change. Because I am wanting to move a lot of what I do from just talking about the theory, but to talking about the tactics, the steps. What do you have to do to change? That's what all this is right now. So I'm taking you through this journey of teaching you how to change. Now, there is a standard model for change. I didn't know this before. I actually had to learn about this. Psychologists call it the trans-theoretical model of change. The trans-theoretical model of change. And when I first started reading about this was after my weight loss journey, when I set off on a quest to determine why I was able to do what I did. Why did it work? Because I knew if I did this once, if I created this sort of a massive transformation in my life once, it stood to reason I'll bet I could do it again in another area of my life. And if I did it twice, which I did, it stood to reason I could do it again in another area of my life, which I did. And I wanted to understand how I could duplicate change, doing the thing that I never thought I could do. How do I get myself to do that? And as I started my research, I had discovered the trans-theoretical model of change. I mean, not going to rephrase that. I didn't discover it. It was already discovered it. I discovered for me. I didn't know about these terms. So first, I want to just walk you through the steps. I'm going to tell you all the steps for the trans-theoretical model of change. The first step is pre-contemplation, followed by step number 2, which is contemplation. Step number 3, preparation. Step number 4, action. Step number 5, maintenance. And step number 6, the step that nobody wants to be there, but it actually is one of the steps. It's a required step, and that is the relapse/lapse phase. These are the steps. So let me go through them one more time and just add a teeny bit of context to each one, and then we're going to do a deep dive into a couple of them. The first one, pre-contemplation. When a person is in the pre-contemplation phase, they have not yet even acknowledged there's an issue. They're not even thinking about changing. They're not even thinking about changing, right? It is the pre-thinking phase, pre-contemplation, pre-thinking, right? You're not even thinking about it. It is that part before. Step number 2, contemplation. This is when an individual will have acknowledgement of a change that might need to be made, but they're not ready to take action. It's just simply awareness. That's all it is. All the contemplation is an increase in awareness to reality. Followed by step number 3, which is preparation. Now we're beginning to move from I'm thinking about it to I'm preparing to act. Now, it's interesting. Preparation is, in fact, action, but it is generally small action or a preparatory action designed to build towards a bigger step coming into the future. Then we move into the action phase. This is where meaningful action is occurring that is going to drive change. The action phase is where all the magic happens. But you've got to go through the first 3 steps to get to action. A lot of people are just coming out of pre-contemplation into contemplation, and they're wanting to just leap right ahead into the action phase. But they want to skip the contemplation or, more importantly, the preparation phase. And that preparation phase is, in fact, really important. And then we move into the maintenance phase. This is not now where a person moves to put into place efforts to sustain the changes and the actions that have been undertaken previously. And then the last step, the one that nobody wants to be there. No one wants this step to be in existence, but it is a step. It is an essential required step. And that is the relapse/lapse phase. Now, I'm giving 2 words. Let me explain the definition between these 2 words as I put them. A relapse is a return to the old life. A lapse is a slip-up that does not necessarily lead to a full-on relapse. These are essential steps to the process. And that is because these lapses and relapses, they present opportunities to learn more about yourself. And you learn more, honestly, from your lapses and relapses than from your successes. Failure is a better teacher than success. Let me say that again. Failure is a better teacher than success. And to get to the end of the journey, you're going to need 1,000 lessons. To keep the weight off, you're going to have to learn 1,000 lessons, maybe more. And you know what? A lot of those lessons are going to be born on the other side of a lapse or relapse. It's an important step. But we're not here to talk about that one. What we're here to talk about is the pre-contemplation phase. First, let's talk about pre-contemplation, because this is something that a lot of people don't think of as a step because nothing's happening. And what I'm doing is I'm gonna do a deep dive into these first 3 steps, and I want you, the listener, to decide which of these steps you're in. Now, some of you, you're already on your journey. You're already moving forward. So you might not be doing these first 3 steps with regards to losing weight as a categorical big mission, but perhaps you're considering making some other change in your life. Something that may or may not be directly tied to weight loss, might be indirectly tied, or it might have nothing to do with it at all. In my case, as an example, I had to leave a couple of jobs over the course of my journey. I left my job of 15 years or so and went to another job, and then later realized I needed to leave that one. And let me tell you, both of those times I had a pre-contemplation phase. So let's you in your mind just recognize, I want you listening, where are you at? Where are you at? And you decide. So pre-contemplation. If a person, as it relates to weight loss, was in the pre-contemplation phase, this individual would not even be thinking of their weight as a problem. Wouldn't even be considering it a problem. Not even thinking about it. Or if they are thinking about it, they're thinking it's too difficult, or perhaps they're thinking it's impossible. They're not often considering change. If a person is in the pre-contemplation phase, changing is not under consideration right now. They're not thinking about losing weight, right? And this could be because perhaps, they remember the results of the past, yo-yo dieting like me. And this leaves them feeling stuck, always thinking, what's the point of losing weight? I'm just going to gain it back. So we're not thinking about losing weight because we don't think it's going to be success. A person in the pre-contemplation phase might actually be moving away from change. They might actually be going the other direction. You don't know because you're just not thinking about it. And so another reason a person might be stuck in the pre-contemplation phase, though, is because they've run out of new information. They've stopped gathering new ideas. Ideas is the fuel of change. It's the fuel of growth. You need a steady stream of new ideas being pumped into your mind because you cannot think of everything that you need to know to be successful. You are going to need to source ideas from outside of you, which means you must place yourself into a situation where you're hearing new ideas. Many of you listening right now, you are in the pre-contemplation phase, even though you're listening to a weight loss podcast such as this one. This might be the only time a week that you stop and think about weight losses while you're listening to me for 20 or 30 minutes once a week. Or maybe when myself or someone else scrolls across your feed on TikTok, right? You're just, otherwise though, generally not thinking about it. Now let's move to number 2. Or actually, let me tell you about my pre-contemplation phase, actually. Before this journey. If we go, this is before I found out about my dad had cancer. I had pretty much just accepted, and I was moving towards acceptance that I'm just going to be the big guy. I was not trying to change that in my mind. I was leaving that alone. And again, because I had just failed so many times, and I had kept trying, and I kept telling myself I'd do it, but it kept not working. I kept, relapsing, and then being so dang hard on myself, telling myself this will never be, it's too hard, and then I would just go back to doing what I wanted to do. I was not thinking about losing weight. If we go back to February of the year I started, the idea of losing weight wasn't a serious thought in my mind. I was not making it a priority. Sure, if somebody said, do you want to lose some weight? I'd be like, well, yeah, I'd like to lose some weight, but if no one asked me about it, it's not like I was thinking about it on my own. I most certainly was not. Now let's talk a little bit about number 2, the contemplation phase. The contemplation phase marks the beginning of awareness. The beginning of awareness. Often, the awareness that the weight is a problem or might be a problem. Now, this awareness, I often call it my oh shit moment. It is something that just gives you a system update in your brain, and reality has become just a little bit more clear to what it is. I'll use an example from photos. I'm a photographer. My wife's a photographer. We've been photographing people for many, 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 many years. I got my first professional camera in 2012. I don't remember when Candace got hers. It was, I think, somewhere around there, or maybe even earlier. But she was doing photography in high school. I picked it up after. And I photographed a lot of families and a lot of people. And here's something that I've seen a lot of times. Person who is larger, that doesn't like themselves, how they look, and they get a photo of themselves taken. And it breaks my heart when I see this lovely mother, wonderful dad, one or the other usually. I'll have a beautiful photo of a family, framed wonderfully. Everybody's smiling, happy. You can tell everybody loves each other. And then the mom goes, I hate it. I don't like this photo. But all she sees is, I don't like how I look. And they don't want to be reminded of what they look like. Now, I would never say what I'm about to say to a customer. I don't do photography anymore, so I don't feel any shame about this at all. If I was doing this, I might not say what I'm about to say on the podcast. But if I could just say what I wanted to say without worrying about the person in front of me, I would say, you do know you've looked like this the whole time, right? Like, this isn't new. The only person this is news to is you. Everyone around you already knows what you look like from every angle. It's not a surprise to them. So when your kids see the photo of you, they see their mom. They see their dad. They already know what you look like, and they love you. They think you're the best. They love being around you. You just brighten their day up. They don't think, oh, my mom's big, therefore I can't love her. They don't think that. They don't think that. And yet, when a person sees that photo, all of a sudden, awareness is created. I'm that big? I didn't think I was that big. I thought I was hiding it better than this. But a camera, especially a DSLR, it don't hide much. It don't hide much. Now, I'm not talking about a bad photo, right? I could take an unflattering photo of anyone. The most pretty person in the world can have an unflattering photo. There's this great photo of Beyonce that got leaked of a very unflattering moment of her at a concert. Not fair to her that got displayed, but I think it's a good example, though, that it shows that someone as pretty as Beyonce can be made to look unflattering in a photo, right? I'm not talking about that. I am talking about a flattering photo that is true to you, that shows what you actually look like. And when you see it, and if you don't normally have photos of yourself taken, that can be an eye-opening moment. Now, for some people, this will send them right back to pre-contemplation. It will create so much pain in them, seeing this, having this reality of how big I've gotten shown in front of them. It can be so painful that they'll just immediately want to shut this off, not look at the picture ever again, not post it on the walls. Not share it. Or better yet, can you edit it out so I'm not in there? Or they'll post the photos only where they are behind their family and all you can see is their head. Right? They want to hide. But they're not hiding themselves from the world. Let's say it what it is. We're hiding from ourselves. We're hiding reality from ourselves. That's what I did. I avoided mirrors. Because if I saw the mirrors, I would see how big I was getting. I bought clothes a little bit too big because I didn't want to be aware of how big I was. I avoided pictures because I didn't want to be reminded of how big I was. And I certainly didn't look at photos of myself very often because I didn't want to be reminded of how big I was. And if I took photos from me, they were from very, 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 very specific angles because I didn't want to be reminded of how big I was. But me doing that, me hiding myself, shielding myself from my reality, what that did is that kept me stuck in the pre-contemplation phase because I didn't want to acknowledge that I've got a problem and I got to deal with it. It is possible that a person is not ready to commit to any change, and yet they still want to. I want to change, but I am not willing to take action. That is the telltale sign you are in the contemplation phase. This is the I'm thinking about losing weight phase. I'm thinking about tracking calories. I'm thinking about adding exercise into my routine. I'm thinking about increasing my weekly step count. I'm thinking about working on my sleep. I'm thinking about blah, blah, blah. Whatever. I'm thinking. That is the telltale sign that you are in the contemplation phase. Now, the contemplation phase is a very, very, very important phase because simultaneously, while this awareness to your present reality, awareness to the dissatisfaction, while that's happening, remember, what are the 3 steps we went over last week? First, you must create or release the desire to do the old thing. In this case, it could be, I need to release the desire to keep looking the way I'm looking. I don't want to look this way anymore. You have to actually feel that. That is an important step. That's the awareness. I want to release the desire to keep having acid reflux because the reality is I desired to do it. Not directly. I desired to do the behaviors that led to it. And I had to really create that desire. But I also needed to create the desire to do the new thing. Last week was the guide on how to get through the contemplation phase. All right? We must begin to intensify the desire. We have to intensify it. We have to create so much awareness to what you could be having so that you can do step 3, as I mentioned last week. Intensify the desire until you are compelled to take action. You'll have no choice. You'll have no choice. My life after my dad died, my world was rocked. And that pushed me from pre-contemplation into contemplation. I started thinking about change. I started considering going in an entirely new direction. That was an important phase. I needed those weeks. I haven't talked about them a ton because I don't have a lot of notes. I didn't write in a journal. I hadn't discovered it yet. I didn't have a video. I wasn't video journaling. All I have from that period of time is my memory. And after so many years, it's begun to fade. I don't remember exactly what I said to myself during that period. I don't. But I do know a few things. I know that I was feeling sad, and I didn't want to feel sad anymore. And I also knew I was not liking how I felt in my body. And I also knew I wasn't taking care of it. And I wanted to live. I wanted to live. The reality is I was slowly imprisoning myself in my body. Year over year over year, I added a few more bricks to my prison. And I didn't want to find myself. Older. Joints not working. Too big to get started. I didn't want to dig a deeper hole. Make it harder to get out of. I didn't want to do it. And my dad dying gave me a lot to think about. And as I was reaching the peak of my pre-contemplation phase of changing my life, not losing weight, of changing my life. Because simultaneously, while I was in this phase, my weight wasn't the only thing that I looked around and realized I was dissatisfied with. Not at all. I was looking around and realizing I'm dissatisfied with my relationships. I'm dissatisfied with my job. I'm dissatisfied with my relationship with myself. I'm dissatisfied of how I conduct myself. And I was dissatisfied with the fact that I didn't know who I was. Because I had spent my life trying to be what I believed everybody else thought I should be. Even though no one told me. It's no one else's fault. It was mine. No one asked me to do that, but I did it anyway. And right as I was beginning to feel the fervor, that peak fever pitch, like I gotta change. But I was so sad. I was so stuck. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't fail another diet. I'd gone on too many already. I'm sitting there at Chick-fil-A. Literally, I see it every day. It's a block from my office now. It's so cool to see that place because I know that it's where it began. The action, the next phase, the preparation phase. You know, part of why I got stuck before in the pre-contemplation phase is I didn't have new information, new action to latch onto because I had believed I couldn't change, that I was stuck. And something new showed up that gave me reason to believe, wait, I think I can change. I think I can change. My brother-in-law sits there and he looks at me and he says, I want to issue a challenge to move for 20 minutes 3 times a week. Any movement you want. He gives me that challenge. The challenge that changed the trajectory of my life. Just this 1 degree shift a new way. I could do that. Those are the words. I can do that. Belief. I believed I could do something that would take me in a new direction. Because I trusted him. I trusted that he knew what he was talking about. Because he did. I trusted him that he cared for me because he had demonstrated it to me over years and years and years and years. And you see, now began my research phase. He gave me the one single challenge, but I had nothing else to go with it. You see, the preparation phase is where you begin to research, to learn, what am I going to do? It's the build-up phase. You're building to the massive action, the big first tangible steps. You do indeed take steps in the preparation phase, like getting online to research something. That is a step. That is an action. You come here each week and listen to this podcast. Even if you're not working on your weight right now and you haven't been working on it, and yet you still keep listening, you're in the preparation phase, more than likely. You're preparing for what you're going to do. But it is so easy to get stuck in this phase. Because as I said, preparation is action. And you can have you can arrive at the false conclusion, the fallacy that preparing for changing is changing. It's not. What you're doing is you're increasing your knowing. You're increasing your knowledge. What am I going to do? I'm going to do this. Perfectionists get stuck in the preparation phase because they got to know how everything is going to work out. I need to know all 10 steps before I take step number 1 because lest I fail. And if you have a bad relationship with failure, if you think I can't take a step forward until I know that I'm going to make it without failing, I got to have a perfect streak, which is impossible, by the way, but I got to have a perfect streak, you'll find yourself stuck in the preparation phase. Now, I want to help you. I want to push you through this phase. I don't want you to get stuck because if you just stay in the preparation phase, you're not going to lose weight. You're not going to lose weight. You're not going to change your life. Now, I'm talking in terms of losing weight, but whatever it is you're trying to change, if you stay in the preparation phase, you will not get new results. And make no mistake about it, you could get stuck in the preparation phase for ages. You could be stuck in there for a long, 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 long time if you're not careful. And so it's important to go to the preparation phase, but to not hang out there too long. You got to get action. You got to start doing something. And I want to help push you. So what I'm going to do, as I said last week, I've got a seminar, a workshop coming up at the first of the year. And I want to invite you to my workshop. The name of the workshop is Why is the Way? And there I'm going to help you awaken your desire. I help you awaken that desire to compel you to take action, to have you take the action you want to take to get the results that you want in your life. I want to help you awaken the desire that is probably already in there. I want you to let it out and get emotionally connected and involved with it. And then we're going to use that desire to drive new results. And it is a 3-day seminar. It is January 4th, 5th, and 6th. That's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We're going to meet Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday morning. Day 1 is all education. There'll be a little bit of workshop in it, but it's all education, setting the scene. Day 2 is a workshop day. Bring your journal. We're going to do some stuff. We're going to dig into your heart, and we're going to awaken that desire that's inside of you. And then on day number 3, I'm going to give you the roadmap on how to take that action, that desire and turn it into action, to give you your what's next steps so you know where to go. So to come to this seminar, which by the way, is completely free. I'm not charging a penny. Completely free. I want you to go to whyistheway.me. That's whyistheway.me. And you can register for this event. Did I mention it's free? Now, when you register for it, you're going to instantly be sent an email And in that email, you'll be invited to a Facebook group just for this event, a private Facebook group just for this event. Now, that Facebook group's not going to last forever. We're going to use that as a way to communicate information leading up to the event. I want you to go ahead and hop into that Facebook group. You're going to find some videos uploaded. This podcast, if you don't know, my podcast, for at least the last year, almost all of them have been videoed. So, hi, I'm waving at you right now. You're going to find the videos of this week's and last week's podcast. I will get them posted for you to watch, and you will find that information in that Facebook group. That will be next week. So if you want to come to the seminar, and I want to see you there, right? My seminars usually have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people come to them, and I hold nothing back. I don't charge for these. This is me giving back. This is me creating the seminars that I wished I had that would have changed my life. And I want you there. And I know it's the first of the year. I know it's that time of year, and it's so cliche. But I know many of you are looking. You're looking for that next step. You don't know what to do. You don't want to end another year feeling like you haven't made enough progress. Why don't we go and make this next year your year? 2020 was my year, even though it was the pandemic. But it was my year of growth. It was my year of action. I was solidly in the action phase for an entire year, and it completely transformed me. I want you to have the same results, but we got to start sometime, right? I began my action phase, my big action leap forward on January 2020. You could begin your next monumental, tectonic, massive leap forward January of 2024. January of 2024 could be your year where you do things you never thought was possible. I know it is so tempting. It is so tempting to believe that you can't do it. I'm too far gone. I'm too old. My knees are too shot. I love this food too much. It's all I've got. Every time I've tried before, I've given up. Every time I've lost weight, I've gained it back. I know the fear, but your past does not predict your future. There always must be a first time. And if you haven't done it yet, it's just because you haven't found the first time. This could be it. And I want to guide you to it. I am here to teach you how to lose weight as a person that has done it, that has fought the battle. And I'm telling you, January 1, you don't need to learn how to track calories first. You need to learn how to awaken the desire and to create your desire on demand so that your motivation well can be replenished any time you need it to. The thing that kills weight loss journeys isn't the fact you gave up carbs, it's that you quit. It's that you fell down and didn't get back up and keep going. And it is your motivation, it is your desire, it is your why that will get you to get up and keep moving forward after you've fallen down. Because remember what I said earlier, the lapse and relapses are a part of the process. You have to go through them. You must. Therefore, you must have this most important skill of learning how to create desire so that you will keep moving forward, because you might slip in week 1. You might week 1 straight up relapse. I got to teach you the skills to pull yourself through that. And I'm going to begin teaching those to you on January 4th, 5th, and 6th at my Why is the Way webinar. Go to whyistheway.me. And I can't wait to see you there. Your assignment this week is to listen to this podcast one more time and to register for the event and to come into the Facebook group. Introduce yourself and then meet each other. And I can't wait to see you all over the next several weeks, culminating with this webinar at the beginning of the year. Have a great week, champion. I know for many of you, this is a big holiday week. So have a great holiday. Enjoy the time with your family. Be present. Enjoy this moment. Enjoy your life. Enjoy yourself. Go ahead and allow yourself to think, to dream, to fantasize about what is coming. There's a bright future for you in store. All you got to do is start walking towards it.